everyone, depending on where you are in the world. It's Wednesday today, and we are back for another Confidence Convo. Welcome to our new segment. This is episode 6, where we discuss all things confidence for young adults. We will be live streaming and recording bi-weekly on Wednesdays on Facebook, YouTube, and your favorite podcast streaming platform. And this week, we will be diving into emotions. And before we get started, I'd love to introduce myself. I am Davina Maria, and I am a master coach and founder of the Restore Yourself Method and host of the Worthy Women Facebook group. And I help women teach themselves and give up people's nation and perfectionism. Over to you, Joanna.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Davina. My name is Joanna Tonkin. I'm a registered psychotherapist, self-confidence mentor, and I'm the founder of the Confidence Formula and the host of the Confidence for Women Under 30 Facebook community. I work with high-achieving women under 30 to help them increase their confidence so they can become more successful. Davina and I came together to create this segment for you because we strongly believe in the power of learning together, and we are obsessed with all things personal development.
And just to clarify, we are not perfect at being confident all of the time. Like you, we move through our struggles and overcome obstacles and mindsets to continuously improve. So think of us as guides by your side.
Yeah. So why are we here today talking about emotions other than the fact that both Davina and I adore this topic? And how does emotions relate to our confidence? Really good question. So if we think about self-confidence as the ability to know and to trust yourself, right? So it's a lot about trusting yourself to get the things you want in life, to do the things you want in life. How can you trust something that you don't know? Right? And I think tapping into our emotions, which is probably one of the most underrated parts of ourselves, will really help us do that. We spend so much time thinking about the thoughts that we're having or the behaviors that we're doing, right? But there's this third part of us, our emotional part of us, that largely gets neglected in our society. So I think talking about emotions is kind of like that missing link or that key to unlocking this big part of who we are. And that's why it's really important to talk about.
I totally agree, 100%.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and start off by just defining what emotions are for our community?
So I think a lot of people have different definitions, but for me, I always go back to the energy in motion definition. I believe that emotions are sort of physiological and psychological responses to any kind of event or a trigger, and they can involve sort of physical experiences or physical sensations, like changing in heart rate, breathing, muscle tension, all of that. And emotions can generate feelings. And I believe, in the energy in motion definition, that there's a trigger, and then the emotion is generated, and the emotion is largely in your body and in your mind.
I have so many questions, but a couple of things just come to mind off the top. So you said emotions, and a lot of my clients, when they're going to define emotions, they say it's a feeling. And so how are emotions and feelings different, and how are they the same? Are they similar? What do you think?
I think they are similar, and I think a lot of people interchange the two words. So a lot of people will use emotions and feelings, in the same way. For me, I feel like emotions are inside my body and feelings are the label that I put on them. And that's the easiest way for me to kind of think about it. And I like to sort of define a feeling as more of a conscious experience of your emotions. So I think, like I was saying in at the beginning, if you imagine like an event or a trigger, some people think about cause and effect. Something will cause you to have a bodily sensation, like your heart might start racing, or your breathing might change. That for me is the emotion, but you might express that to someone as I'm feeling excited. But you wouldn't necessarily say I'm feeling my heart rate has increased. You would probably label it with a label of I'm feeling excited, or I'm feeling happy, or I'm feeling anxious. So for me, that's how I kind of think about it. The emotion is largely a bodily sensation. It's not always something that we are in control of. It happens in relation to a trigger, and then the feeling is what we are conscious of, and we go into our body and we're like, oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous right now, or I'm feeling a bit excited, or I'm really like super happy about something that's happened. So yeah, that's normally how I would define sort of an emotion versus a feeling.
Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. And I was just thinking as you were saying that, like, even in our speech, the way we talk about emotions and feelings are different because, you know, some people say, I am angry. And, angry
Yeah.
is not what you are. You're so much more than angry. You're the container of your thoughts, of your feelings, of your behaviors, of your body, and everything else, right? And
Yeah.
so we even say, like, I am an emotion when it's really, I feel an emotion. I
Yes.
feel angry. I feel sad. I feel happy. And so if we, like, think of it that way, if you were just to say, like, emotions and feelings are the same thing, it's then, like, I feel feeling, but it's
Yes.
really
Yes. Yes.
important to
Yes.
kind of label and identify which feeling you're having because of why emotions are so important, the information that they're trying to share with us.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. And a lot of people that I know don't talk in those terms. I very rarely hear someone say, I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
happy or I'm feeling sad. You're totally right. A lot of people will just straight away go, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm, whatever it is. And I think sometimes for me, it sort of comes from maybe sometimes we don't know the difference between an emotion and a feeling. And maybe sometimes we also don't know how to process it. We don't know how to kind of think, okay, this is just the now
Art.
situation. Yeah, this is a part of me right now, or
Mm-hmm.
this has been caused by um like an event or a situation that because I'm in this room or I'm with these people, and it's not necessarily me. It's basically something has been caused and I've been caused to feel a certain way, and now I'm expressing it as happiness, sadness, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the understanding of how we feel inside will definitely help how we express that.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think of this analogy when I think about emotions that I think is really helpful for myself and for some of my clients. I like to think of emotions sometimes as like beach balls. It sounds strange, right? But like you're driving down the street and somebody cuts you off in traffic. That's the experience or the trigger that happens, right?
Yeah.
The energy of the emotion comes into your life, and so I think of it like a beach ball kind of flies into your car, and all of a sudden you're feeling angry, right? Someone just
Yes.
cut you off in traffic. It's there. It's physical. You feel it, right? And sometimes with difficult emotions, people want to push the beach ball underwater,
Yeah.
right? They want to suppress it. They want to get rid of it. They don't want to deal with it. And what happens when you push a beach ball underwater? First of all, the pressure that it causes and the energy it takes us to hold these emotions down, to suppress these emotions is quite significant, right? And we're afraid that if we
Yeah.
let them go, then they're going to create that tsunami, that wave that's out of our control. Right. So
Yeah.
people have this relationship with their emotions that they're like, it's too difficult. I don't want to deal with it. So I'm just going to suppress it. And in the long run, it's actually causing more strain and more difficulty in your life than actually dealing with it.
Totally, totally. And I feel like you've touched on something there about being in control. I think, I'm pretty certain that one of the human needs is a sense of certainty, but I think there is also another human need of uncertainty. And I think sometimes we kind of like pendulum backwards and forwards between these. And I love the analogy that you've used. It's absolutely brilliant about, the beach ball and pushing it down and the energy that you need to hold it down. And I think sometimes holding down your emotions or suppressing your emotions is a perceived sense of control.
Mm-hmm.
But in actual fact, at some point it's going to pop up somewhere else. And I think even if using your beach ball analogy, even if you're holding a beach ball down here, if it can't pop up here, it might pop up somewhere else. So
Exactly.
you then have sort of like a knock-on effect, like a domino effect of the whole cause and effect situation. Yeah.
Totally, totally. And I think about like how many beach balls we're holding down from the experiences from our childhood, from the experiences of our day and of our week, how much
Yeah.
energy we're spending to hold all this down. And, if it's not that specific emotion of being angry in the car that pops up, it's going to be something else that's going to pop up. And we can't be in control of all these beach balls all of the time because we're only,
Yeah.
have so much capacity, only so human. Right.
100%.
So let's talk a little bit about like what a different approach could be. Instead of trying to avoid, ignore, or suppress these emotions, like what do you recommend? What do you suggest to people who might be watching?
So I normally, the first thing that I would normally say to anybody is reserve the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, However you feel or whatever your body is experiencing in that moment, you don't need to label it as good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
You can you can just purely feel it. And for me, emotions just are. I think I know we've spoken about this in previous episodes, but I think emotions have been given to us, and in some respects to keep us safe. If there is sort of like if we're crossing a road and a car is coming towards us, there's certain bodily sensations that happen to keep us safe, to make sure that we don't step into the road or to make sure that we jump out of the way in time. So there isn't a good or bad with the way that you feel in the moment. And if you allow yourself to feel it and just process it, it will actually it will dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, in my life, I can 100% attest to that. Emotions don't sit with you all day, every day, and carry on and on and on. Most of the time, if you feel it and you process it, it will kind of calm down. And I know earlier we talked about your heart rate increasing or your breathing changing. Yes, when you get anxious, maybe your breathing will change. But once you sort of calm down and the situation subsides, your breathing will go back to normal. And then you can sort of carry on with your day. So for me, it's all about judgment. Don't judge yourself if you feel anxious. Don't judge yourself if you feel like my heart rate has just spiked because I've walked into this interview. Or, don't judge yourself. It's not good. It's not bad. It's it's just the fact that you're human and you feel things and you experience emotions, and all of this is 100% normal. And I actually feel like we can learn. We can learn from the way our body reacts in certain situations, and it's all messaging and cues to tell us, that, like, it just sends us messages about certain situations, certain people. And on the other end of the scale, you might do something that really lights you up, and the way that you feel in your body and the kind of feelings that you express. If someone says, how was your day? You think, I had a fantastic day, it was so good. All of that is a learning. Do more of those things. So yeah, for me, it's all about the judgment. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge your body. Don't judge your feelings. Just feel them. They are what they are, and they will pass.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I sometimes talk about how, when we add that layer of shame or I shouldn't feel this to the emotion, or if we fixate too hard on the emotion, right? We're walking into that business meeting or interview and we're feeling nervous and we're so hyper fixated on the nervous, like, how's that going to cause you to behave when you're being asked
100%.
questions or when you're sitting there, right? So
Yeah.
we kind of have to like be with the energy, be with the beach ball, almost. I like to think of it as separate from us, right? That's why I kind of like to visualize the beach ball there. It's with me, but it's not me. And I can
Yeah.
just sit with it, be with it without spending too much time fixating on it. And I like to think of it
Yeah.
almost like the weather. When we look outside and it's raining, we're not like, oh my God, I'm going to feel this way forever. Or, and why is the rain never going to stop? We never think that to ourselves, right? We know the rain is going to go from rain to sunshine to clouds to maybe snow, depending where you live,
Yeah.
right? And the weather's always changing. So the emotions are kind of like the weather inside your body.
A
And if we
hundred
think of it
percent.
and if we think of it that way, it's really like, okay, so this is just what's here right now and it's not going to be forever. So let's not fixate on it. Let's just kind of feel the feeling, notice that it's raining, and go about our day, right? And
Yeah.
still do what we have to do.
I love that. I feel like, yeah, it's almost like thinking, this is my reality right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, a little bit like time, every minute that goes by, you're kind of like moving into the future, and then you have a past, and you're sort of not, you're not staying still in time. And yeah, I love that analogy so much because I feel like it's sort of like saying nothing is permanent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know a lot of people always have the phrase of, oh, this too shall pass. And it's exactly that. Whatever you're feeling in the moment, it's definitely not permanent, especially if you're labeling it as a negative experience, you can trust that it will not last forever.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome.
I feel like we've kind of touched a little bit on um, sort of the good and bad of how sometimes people label emotions, or you've mentioned the word shame, which for me I feel like shame is actually an emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably one of the more complex emotions. It's not as straightforward as you know um, happiness, for example. And I feel like shame happens when we sort of judge how we feel, or like you said, when we go, I shouldn't feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, the shame and the I shouldn't feel this way is exactly the judgment we don't want, because that is the beach ball analogy of holding it down and being like, don't feel like this, don't feel like this, don't feel like this. And I know you've used another example of like walking into an interview and being hyper fixated on how you feel, to the point where maybe you're not focused on your behavior or how you're coming across or why you want the job, or your skills and your um, kind of character that you can showcase to make a good impression. um, so I don't know if you've got any feelings around how people label emotions and the good versus bad emotions.
Yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit before, but I'll just reiterate. Emotions. Emotions are neutral. They're not good or bad, right? There is a
Yeah.
reason that that energy is being present in your life, and if someone just cut you off in traffic and you're feeling frustrated or angry or afraid, like that makes so much sense why you feel that way,
Mm,
right? So just acknowledging the emotion, um, and being curious with why it's there, right? Why are you
yeah.
frustrated or angry when somebody cuts you off in traffic? Because that made you feel unsafe, right? It makes perfect sense why it would be there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think just kind of being with the emotion, getting curious about the emotion, listening to what it's saying instead of thinking good or bad, positive, negative. It's just information that your body is trying to tell you, right? And then we
Yeah.
don't have to be so judgmental or critical, like you said.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love how you said it's just information that your body's trying to tell you, because yeah, I think about it in exactly the same way. I feel like it's when you speak in like IT terminology, I feel like it's data collection really.
Yeah.
You're just collecting data, and I love how you said to get curious, because I feel like the more you pay attention to your emotions, the more you can learn about yourself
Mm-hmm.
if you are curious. Because, and I know last week we spoke about beginner's mind, and I think it's sort of the same thing. It's sort of coming into it with a right, let's figure out what's going on here. Why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? Or when I feel this way, what normally causes it? And how do I normally process it? And how would I like to process it? And then you kind of move forward from that place, and you kind of get to know yourself a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, that's super, super helpful when it comes to confidence, because I know we've spoken about at the beginning, you mentioned about the trust, confidence being trust in yourself. And I think, how would you trust yourself if you maybe aren't paying attention to your emotions, and you're not able to kind of process them? I don't know if you would be able to um, fully kind of embody confidence like that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. And at the same time, giving too much attention to these, negative or bad or, whatever emotions that we talk about can actually hold us back from taking the steps forward and required in order to be more competent and increase our confidence
Mhm.
in life, right? So while we
Yeah.
want to pay attention to them, we want to get curious with them, we don't want to fixate on them because that might lead to, holding us back from what we really want.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point, because yeah, whenever we kind of over kind of focus on things or ruminate on things, Yeah, it never really goes anywhere, not
Mm-hmm.
anywhere positive anyway. And yeah, I think in order to kind of keep yourself in a more of a neutral space, if we're describing emotions as being neutral, then I guess the optimum position for us on any given day is to be in a neutral space in ourselves as well. And yeah, paying attention to the emotions as they arise, processing them and letting them subside, and then kind of moving forward from there.
Yeah, really good stuff.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Um, is there anything else that you would like to go through about emotions? I know that this is quite a giant topic and we could probably talk about it all day.
Yeah, I think that's a really good introduction to the idea of emotions. Maybe in future segments we'll talk about specific emotions and what they are and what they're trying to tell us, and
Yeah,
kind of get to know some of those more difficult ones so we can befriend them instead of running away from them like a lot of us try to do.
I love that. I love the thought of befriending emotions. I'm
Mm.
definitely, yeah, I love that. I'm in for that.
I think of it like the Disney Pixar movie. What's it called? What the one oh, with the
With
parts in
the
your the parts that live in the brain and the little girl that moves to a different house.
Oh, I haven't watched that. I would
Oh, it's
love
an
to know what it
amazing movie.
is.
Anyway, stay tuned next time and I'll tell you what that movie's called.
Yeah, it's definitely a reason to come back in 2 weeks' time. 100%,
Yeah,
100%. Well, it's been so great chatting with you as always. I absolutely love emotions and I love kind of diving deep into them. So yes, I would 100% look forward to us going through emotions part two in a future episode. And we will definitely be back in 2 weeks' time. And for more information on who we are and what we do and our love of all things confidence and self development, you can find or follow us from our social media information posted below in the comments. And if you like what you've heard, please feel free to like, share, or subscribe. But I think that's it for today. And it's been awesome, Joanna, as always. I really, really do look forward to the next episode.
as always, good to see you and we'll see you soon.
Indeed. See you soon, everyone.